All right, so welcome to another deep dive. You know how this works, right? You send us something that's got you thinking, and we unpack it together. So today, we're diving into this transcript you sent from Let's Rock That Wisdom, and it's tackling this question.
Is being yourself the problem?
Yeah, exactly. Is authenticity actually a liability?
It's a really interesting premise, right? Because we're often told to be ourselves, to embrace our individuality. But this video flips that on its head.
Totally. And I think a lot of people probably feel that tension on some level, like how much of yourself can you actually bring to the table in certain situations?
It's like that feeling of not quite fitting in, but on a deeper level. The video talks about not being able to play dead well enough. Like you see those around you kind of going through the motions, and you can't quite bring yourself to do the same.
And there's this part where the speaker talks about hearing the silence under their words and feeling the cracks in their smiles. It's like they're super attuned to the inauthenticity, and it's kind of unsettling.
Right, like you're picking up on these subtle cues that something isn't quite right, that there's a disconnect between what's being presented and what's actually going on beneath the surface.
And that ties into this core tension the video explores, the idea that what others often want is this lightness, this comfort, this kind of easygoing vibe.
But then you have someone who's maybe more inclined towards gravity and truth, someone who's not afraid to delve into the deeper stuff. And those two things, they don't always mesh so well.
Definitely not. And the video argues that the consequence of that tension is often that we end up shrinking ourselves, not necessarily consciously, but as a kind of self-protective mechanism.
To avoid being seen as the problem, the one who's rocking the boat, it's almost like an act of self-preservation in a way.
Yeah, like don't be too much, don't be too intense, don't bring the mood down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the video really doesn't hold back. It straight up says realness is a fucking liability, which, is a pretty bold statement.
But also kind of rings true in a lot of ways, right? Like, think about it. How often are we rewarded for being completely unfiltered, for just putting it all out there?
Not very often, I'd say. It's more about presenting a certain image, a polished version of ourselves, even if it's not entirely representative of who we really are.
And the video frames that as wearing a mask, which is an interesting way to think about it. Like, walking into the world without a mask on can actually be seen as a threat.
Yeah, it disrupts the status quo. It challenges the unspoken rules of social engagement. And it can make people uncomfortable.
And then you get all those labels, right? Too intense, too emotional, too hard to market.
Like you're somehow defective for not conforming to a certain mold. It's a way of shutting down authenticity, of pushing people back into line.
And the video talks about this danger of self-diminishment that comes with that, of slowly eroding your own depth in silence. It's not a sudden death. It's this gradual fading away.
Which is maybe even more insidious, right?
Yeah.
Because you might not even realize it's happening until you're already pretty far down that path.
And it ties into that feeling the video describes of walking into a room and it's like a live action hallucination where everyone's kind of cosplaying human. Like you're surrounded by these carefully constructed personas and it's hard to connect with any realness.
And then you're faced with this dilemma, right? Do you call it out? Do you say, hey, I'm sensing some serious inauthenticity here? But then you risk becoming the problem, the one who's making everyone uncomfortable.
So the natural response is often to retreat into silence. But the video makes this really important point that silence isn't necessarily peace. It's just the last place you haven't had to lie.
Yeah, it's not always this serene, meditative space. It can be a very defensive posture, a way of protecting yourself from further hurt or rejection.
And there's this line that just hit me hard. Something in you disappears when you constantly have to stifle your truth. It's like this slow dimming of your inner light.
It's a form of self-betrayal in a way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sacrificing a part of yourself for the sake of fitting in or avoiding conflict.
Totally. And the video brings up Schopenhauer's idea that being yourself requires solitude. But it's not about being antisocial. It's about recognizing that social interaction often requires us to present a version of ourselves that doesn't quite align with who we really are.
It's like we're constantly curating a persona for public consumption. And over time, that can take a toll.
So the video distinguishes between the safe self we often show the world and the full person we hold within. And it frames that not as self-expression, but as self-defense.
Like we're trying to protect ourselves from judgment, from rejection, from all the potential negative consequences of being fully seen.
And there's this warning about the risk of forgetting the someone else beneath the performance. Like if you're constantly playing a role, you can lose touch with your authentic core.
And the video really emphasizes the difference between being unseen and being free. Initially, hiding yourself might feel safe, clean, even liberating in a way.
But over time, that can morph into a cage of your own making.
Yeah, you're essentially trapping yourself in this carefully constructed persona, and it can be incredibly difficult to break free.
And then the video tackles this huge challenge of bringing your true self into rooms that can't handle it, which takes a lot of courage, right? Because you're essentially saying, this is me, take it or leave it.
And there's no guarantee that people will be receptive. In fact, you're likely to encounter resistance, discomfort, maybe even outright hostility.
And the video points out that the performance isn't always for others. It can become an internalized mask, something we put on even when we're alone. Like we've internalized the need to censor ourselves.
It speaks to how deeply ingrained those patterns of inauthenticity can become. It's like we've been conditioned to smile when we're hurting, to agree when we disagree, all to maintain a sense of harmony.
Or, as the video also suggests, maybe some people started out being really open and honest but got burned for it. So they learned to silence themselves as a way to survive.
Which is really sad when you think about it. Like their authenticity was essentially punished, so they retreated inward.
And that leads to this cycle of performance that the video talks about, where external validation becomes the driving force.
You know, they clap when you play the role, so you keep playing it, even if it feels increasingly hollow.
And the real you gets relegated to the backstage, while this performed version of yourself is the one getting all the applause.
Which is a recipe for feeling deeply disconnected from yourself. And the video even warns about the danger of the mask becoming so integrated that you start to believe it's your true face.
And this is where the video brings in Kierkegaard's concept of the crowd as untruth, which I found really fascinating. He saw the crowd as this force that prioritizes conformity over individual truth.
Like a slow-motion self-erasure that gradually wears down your edges until you blend in seamlessly.
And the real crisis, as the video puts it, is when you start to believe your own performance. When the line between who you are and who you're pretending to be becomes completely blurred.
So then comes this pivotal moment, the decision to stop the performance and speak your truth. But the video acknowledges that it's a terrifying prospect, right? Like you're stepping into the unknown, you're making yourself vulnerable.
And it paints this really vivid picture of what those initial reactions can be like. That awkward silence, like the world's glitching for a moment, or people just kind of politely backing away because they don't know how to handle your honesty.
And there's this brilliant line that truth is often only welcomed if it's gift-wrapped in humor. Like we need to soften the blow, make it more palatable, less threatening.
Otherwise, you get hit with all those labels, intense, negative, difficult. It's a way of dismissing your truth, of putting you back in your place.
And it creates this huge internal conflict. You want to be liked, you want to be accepted, but you also need to honor your own truth. It's like this constant push and pull between your head and your heart.
And the video uses this incredibly visceral image of truth clawing out like it's trying to save your life, which speaks to that deep, primal urge to be seen, to be heard, to be known.
And it brings up Camus's idea of living to the point of tears, but not tears of sadness, but tears of truth. Like you reach this point where the pressure builds up so much that it has to break through.
And the video makes this really powerful distinction between choosing the comfort of silence and choosing the scars of authenticity. It's acknowledging that speaking your truth might wound you, but those wounds are ultimately less damaging than the internal decay of living a lie.
And even though the video talks about the isolating nature of truth, referencing Camus, it emphasizes that rejecting self-betrayal is ultimately more important. Like you're choosing integrity over fitting in.
And the video poses this really challenging question. What truth are you still swallowing just to be liked? It's a call to really examine the compromises you're making, the parts of yourself you're keeping hidden for the sake of approval.
And to consider the cost of that silence. What are you sacrificing by not allowing yourself to be fully seen?
Because ultimately, what you lose by speaking your truth isn't the real you. It's the acceptance of a muted, inauthentic version of yourself. And that's a loss worth celebrating.
So let's say you take that leap, you stop performing, you start speaking your truth. The video talks about this initial feeling of liberation, but then comes this big question. What the hell am I now?
It's the messy, often lonely, and sometimes surprisingly loud reality of confronting your unmasked self. All those familiar scripts, those well-rehearsed roles, they're gone, and you're left with this raw, unfiltered.
And the video quotes Nietzsche here. You must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star, which I think is a beautiful way of saying that this period of turmoil, of deconstruction, is actually essential for growth.
Like you have to tear down the old structures before you can build something new and authentic in its place.
Absolutely. But as the video points out, there's this huge temptation to revert back to the familiar performance, even if it never truly served you. It's comfortable, it's known, it feels safe.
And it's so easy to fall back into those old patterns, especially when things get tough. But the video warns against gluing the mask back together, because you're missing out on a huge opportunity.
An opportunity to really discover who you are, to connect with others on a deeper level, to create something truly meaningful.
So the video talks about this process of building a new self after the death of the performed identity. And it describes this new self as a fucking rebellion, which I love. It's not about fitting in, it's about standing out.
It's about embracing your imperfections, your rough edges, the parts of yourself that might not be conventionally acceptable, but are undeniably you.
And the video brings in Heidegger's perspective. Remember you're dying and let that make you honest, which is a pretty heavy concept, but it really gets to the heart of what authenticity is about.
It's about living with a sense of urgency, recognizing that our time here is limited, and choosing to spend it in a way that aligns with our deepest values.
So, the video contrasts living for applause with living for impact. It's about shifting your focus from seeking external validation to creating something that matters, something that makes it.
And ultimately, the video argues that being truly real, even in a world that often punishes it, is a revolutionary act. It's about resisting the pressure to conform, to blend in, to play it safe.
And it delivers this powerful message. You weren't born to blend in, you were born to break shit.
It's a call to action, to mean out loud before the silence swallows you.
And that final thought, that on your final day, it's the memories of silenced truths that will resonate the most. That's the one that really stays.
It's a powerful reminder that living authentically isn't just about being true to yourself in the moment. It's about creating a life that you can look back on with a sense of wholeness and integrity.
So our listener, this video you shared really packs a punch. It's a deep dive into the complexities of authenticity, and it challenges us to confront the uncomfortable truth that being ourselves can be a liability in a world that often prioritizes conformity.
And we hope this conversation has encouraged you to consider the true cost of living inauthentically, of silencing your truth for the sake of approval.
Because ultimately, the most important question isn't whether being yourself is the problem, but whether you're willing to risk being fully seen, even if it means facing discomfort, rejection, or even isolation.
And to leave you with a final thought, we'll build on Heidegger's powerful reminder about the finite nature of our existence. If you were to live each moment with a profound awareness of its preciousness, its limited nature, what performances would you immediately abandon, and what truths would you finally speak? Not for the applause of others, but for the integrity of your own being. It's a question worth pondering, worth exploring in your own quiet moment.
And that's a wrap on this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.